Hey everyone, my name is Mars, pronouns they, them. I'm co-director of Third Wave Fund and I'm based in Chicago, Illinois.
What's
Mo.
up, y'all? I'm Morgan or Mo. I am the other co-director of the Third Wave Fund. I use any pronouns or Mo, and I am based in Detroit.
And hi, everyone. My name is Maryse Mitchell-Brody. My pronouns are they, them. I am based on Catskill Mohican land in New York, and I am the Director of Development at Third Wave Fund. And we're really excited to just be in this conversation together as we move into the end of the year and reflect on this really incredible year together. So I wanted to kick it off by asking a question for all of us. We put together this beautiful end of year artwork in which it says, "Deepen your solidarity, let resources flow." Shout out to Nwosu, the one incredible artist who worked with us on that. So, what do we mean when we ask folks to deepen their solidarity with gender justice organizing? And what form can that take? Mars, I'll ask you to share first.
Oh, I really love this question. And one thing that I love about this question is that it allows us to get creative and allows us to dream we already know when we say deepen your solidarity, right? Let the resources flow. And yes, in many ways, that means cut the check, right? Deepen what your giving looks like. Call up your homies, let them know, hey, this is an organization I'm supporting. You should support this organization too. And here's why. But it also means so many other things as well. I think that we often tend to think only in terms of currency when we think about resources. But when I think about resources and deepening our commitments and letting the resources flow, I'm also thinking about time. In what ways can we lend our time towards our movements in the ways that organizations are showing up in this moment? I think about skills that we can be sharing with each other. Are you really good in terms of thinking about digital safety and security, and you want to volunteer your time to make sure an organization understands what they can be doing to make sure that they're protecting grantee partners? Are there people that you can be organizing in your community to create a campaign that speaks out against the anti-trans legislation that's happening right now, that pushes for reproductive justice and bodily autonomy? All of these things are ways that we can be deepening our commitments and letting the resources flow. I would love to hear from you, Maryse, in terms of what you think of when you think about this call.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, first of all, such an honor and also a challenge to follow up that really wonderful summary. Incredible to have two writers as our co-directors and also small amount of pressure. And so one thing that I'll say for me too is also for me as somebody with class privilege, looking at and with white privilege, looking at resources also in terms of privilege. Who do am I connected to that I can bring into right relationship with wealth redistribution and with showing up as co-conspirators for Black, Indigenous, and people of color? And so in thinking about that, it's also about what do I have to give in my most unique and rare way, right? So I'm somebody who was has a lot of nature gayness, something I share with Mo. And so that's something that I was also delighted to share my knowledge of as we develop this campaign. This campaign has images of plants and animals that are rooted in places where we have grantee partners and staff, and being able to bring that knowledge and share it in a way that encourages us all to be in better relationship with webs of care and resourcing is one creative way that I got to show up this year. What about you, Mo?
Yeah. Oh, I love these answers. This is great. When I think about solidarity with gender justice organizers and movement, I think about the ways that folks, especially this year, we've been targeted and marginalized and had our work and our communities and our funding actively dismantled. And so for me, this is a moment where solidarity looks like making a lot of noise. It's about showing up publicly, sharing with your folks why you're giving. I think it's about resisting the temptation to maybe contract a little bit or get a little bit more quiet. I think this is a moment for boldness, and I'm so grateful to be working with and for Third Wave as we're taking these risks and we're saying, no, we know that the work of our grantees is more essential than ever and will continue to be. And we need our donors, we need our allies, we need our ecosystem to join us in making that call heard, kind of above the noise that we're all really spending our lives and times organizing against and reacting to hour by hour every day. Um, I think for me, it also means sustaining commitment over time. Long-term funding is one of the ways that we're able to envision ourselves in the future. We're able to support our grantees as they continue to think about how to respond to this moment and the future. And they deserve the opportunity to know that there's a resource that they can rely on and continue to grow their work through. That feels really important. And I think finally, and always most importantly, truly, is listening and learning to what our folks need. I think that we all might feel called to rally and do things on our own because of the passion and our response to what it means to be in solidarity with gender justice. And of course, that's amazing and it's welcome, but it's most welcome and most powerful when it's done in community and when it's done in solidarity that comes from listening to the needs of our folks who are doing this work on the front lines. Um, those are some thoughts that come to mind for me.
Wow, I just want to name, I know this is not maybe part of our segue to the next question, but one thing that I want to name is just like the excitement that I feel just hearing both of you speak about just what it means to deepen solidarity with movements in this moment. So many gems that came out that I will likely not get right in this moment. But one thing that I do want to say is that these conversations that we get to have amongst each other internally to then share externally always leave me feeling like a renewed sense of just like energy and hope, right? But I think like as we kind of keep talking about this year, talking about this moment and beyond it, I'm really curious to know what's something amazing that donor solidarity allowed Third Wave Fund to resource this year. Can I pass that to Mo first to answer?
Yeah, in consideration and care of our grantees, I won't name them specifically, but I do definitely want to shout out the ability that one of our grantees within our Disability Frontlines Fund was able to lean into this year, which is reaching out to us after the LA fires and articulating that they, being a crew of disabled, neurodivergent, and chronically ill folks who are organizing on the ground, were really well positioned to urgently respond to some of the needs that were happening in their communities, in their homes, in terms of people's actual health and livelihoods in real time as a response to what was happening. So I'm really grateful for the ability to be nimble and to respond to their call for rapid response support and to really deepen our commitment and relationship with a crew of folks who's been deeply influential in the way that our fund has developed and evolved, and the way that Third Wave is continuing to build its relationships with grantees. So that's felt really important and something I wanted to highlight. Maryse, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I sure do. Honestly, in thinking in response to this question, I'm one of the people whose job it is to really pay attention to all the different incredible pieces of work that folks are holding up. And because y'all don't toot your own horns enough, I think one thing that I really want to uplift is y'all's donor advocacy this year, your philanthropic organizing, your claiming leadership as two Black trans co-directors in philanthropy and claiming your power in this space. And I just want to shout out all of the ways that you've demonstrated that it is values aligned, not to comply in advance, that it is values aligned to take big risks, even just the risks of traveling to places where it may not be something we would prefer to do on our own. And yet y'all have shown up in these uncompromising ways in places like Grantmakers in the Arts, Unity Summit, Funding Forward, in all of these places that we need to be to share and to co-organize with our fellow movement partners. And so, yeah, I just really look forward to getting to continue to flank you both in that work and for people to continue to connect to y'all in 2026. And Maryse, what about you?
Wow, thank you for that, Maryse. One thing that I feel like I would lift in relationship to this question is our mighty communications team, who has been leading the way in storytelling for Third Wave Fund for many, many years. And one thing that is very important to name is that Third Wave Fund is an organization of artists, and an organization of artists that understand that our creative selves are critical to the movement building work that we are doing and critical to the storytelling work that we need to do. So with this, I want to uplift our Artists in Residence program that was dreamed into being by Monica Trinidad, our strategic comms director, who is an artist themselves. And working with alongside an artist to create artwork that's not just about raising funds, but that's about storytelling around how we look towards nature, that it to be the grand teacher of like what it means for us to be in community with each other and to do this work together, to nourish roots, right? To dig into those roots and to be planted in them, right? One thing that we know is that artists are not only just critical towards movements, but they're critical to changing the narrative of how we believe our world to be, and critical also in allowing us to see that another world is possible if we rely on the beauty that's around us, and allow that beauty to extend towards love for not just ourselves, but for our connections with each other. So I want to uplift that. I think the Artist in Residence program is something that Third Wave Fund is doing that is very indicative of the work that we've always been doing. We've always leaned into art as a critical role or mechanism of storytelling. And this allows us to dig a little bit deeper and work closer with an artist, and build those relationships with queer and trans artists of color. So I want to uplift that because I don't think that it would be possible if it wasn't for a lot of the donor work, deep resourcing work that our individual donors have done.
Can I just say that one of the things that I have that I've observed in just being in conversation and moving through spaces, for just big capital P philanthropy spaces this year, is kind of this revelation that art is a really critical tool to our movement work. And I think there are these conversations that are popping up that are exciting and important and essential to really think about how we're treating and engaging art as a part of our whole. And that's something that I think Third Wave has like been on. There's never been a time where we've had to consciously add um, art, media, just creative ways of connecting with people into our work. It's just been how we've approached it, and so I'm really excited to like deepen that this year with our artists in residence, and I'm really excited to continue to be clear about like, listen, art is it is an essential tool. It is a framework. It is a guide. It is a calling card. It is the opportunity to get people excited about something that can have just deep impact and depth. It is something that people um, are drawn to and should be. I think it's the thing that people respond to when they say that they see our work in the world, whether it's in our social media campaigns or our years in review. And I'm just excited for the way that that energy and momentum can build in the coming year um, because we're on the ground doing this work and we're trying to stay connected there. We know the power of art and what it can do. And so I'm excited to hear people kind of having a moment of being like, oh, yeah, because we're like, yes, exactly. And that feels good. I have a question. My question for Maryse is, what are some examples of ways our community of supporters have deepened their solidarity?
Yeah, well, so one thing I just want to shout out, I'm actually just getting back from a group called Resource Generation, which organizes young people under 35 to redistribute land, wealth, and power back into the communities from which it was extracted. I just got back from their conference. And one thing I just want to shout out is we came in with some beautiful artwork and the way and stickers and things like that, maybe 100 stickers of each. Did I come home with anything? No. Did people deeply value the artwork from Chi and Monica and the words from our teams in helping them understand and directly connect that this hard, painful work that they are doing in unlearning all kinds of stuff is deeply important and can support this kind of joy, this kind of thought partnership, this kind of beauty, and that the work of redistribution, I think, really invites people into an opportunity to be in better relationship, to be in joyous relationship. And it was really cool to see in real time how art helps steward those things. Sorry to keep riffing on art. Clearly, it's something we're all moved by. But I will also say that a lot of people have recognized that this year is a year truly like no other, right? And that this is the moment to deepen. So we've had a number of people reach out, even without us checking in with them, saying, you know what, I came into extra money this year, or I dug deeper and I'm going to be doubling my monthly donation, or I inherited some money I didn't expect to. So how much money would be useful for this year and how much would be useful for next year and the year after that? I think one thing that is deeply critical is working with people on a multi-year, multi-month level. What will it look like for y'all to commit to us for the long haul as we commit to grantee partners for the long haul? And I've seen a lot of that. I've also seen some really beautiful things, especially coming from movement donor advisors and the folks who are supported by them, in terms of just checking in with us, saying, hey, things are real rugged right now. What do you need? Is there anything we can do? Do you want us this kind of connection? Can I make a pitch for you with this kind of network? Can I lend my skills in data management? Can I share this email with somebody I know who has access to something or other? Lots of different ways, and not all of them about money, right? And also just, do you have any grantee partners working on this kind of issue or that issue that I can be supporting more directly or that I can be lifting up elsewhere? So those are just a few things, but I know also too that I really want to lift up the work of our donor organizing team and the donuts working to bring in grassroots donors to figure out, can I throw a fundraiser? Can I share an end of year letter with a friend? What might it look like next year? And I'm just so excited for the team as we continue to work that out together in 2026. And thank you.
I'm so glad you uplifted the donuts. Shout out to our donor organizing team that has been making that happen, who've been thinking a lot about what it looks like to do more cross-class organizing, which allows us to really lean into the knowing that everyone plays a role. There is nothing that you have that's too small, that we all can be moving this work forward together. But I have a question for you, Mo, which I think is going to allow us to think a little bit beyond just cutting the check, right? Grantee partner support doesn't just look like cutting a check. In what other ways do we show up for our grantee partners?
Yeah. I want to start out by just shouting out the programs, aka the grant making team, who is just they're so good at their jobs. And I'm really grateful to get to work with them directly all the time. Um, one of the things that I've been working with internally with some of our teams, our program officers and program associates, is to ask them to continue to be mindful of their own capacity, because what they are offering grantees in partnership goes so far beyond cutting a check. It includes just like deep, ongoing thought partnership about their strategic direction, fundraising plans, wellness resources, opportunities to think about how they might want to deepen their engagement or shift maybe even the focus of their work. We have program officers and funds who are supporting grantees in sunsetting because it's time for their work to meet an end after doing effective and amazing things. We have we have program officers who are supporting grantees in rethinking the way that they're running their volunteer networks or asking their own donors for money. And so part of my role this year, which is like a great problem, is to be like, make sure that you're breathing and taking breaks and taking lunches and taking care of yourself, because I think that we're in a moment in recognition of the time that we're in, where I think our approach is to give as much of our information, our networks, our resources of time, of expertise, um, just through deep, sustained, relationship-driven support. Um, that can mean supporting with grief and loss. It can mean supporting folks in finding new fiscal sponsors, thinking about what their crisis response or the day-to-day realities of leading work in this moment look like. Um, and when emergencies hit, I think we move quickly, or we try to, with rapid response and flexible support. And we're really grateful to our funders who have allowed us to do more rapid response this year than we initially planned. It was essential and really well timed, and we hope we're able to do that work again next year at that pace. And through sponsorships and connections and participating in the events that our grantees are hosting and throwing. I think that we've been building these deep relationships, but also offering a well of resources that we're looking forward to really developing more deeply in the years to come, as these relationships with our grantees continue to evolve and their work evolves and the needs that we're facing at this moment continue to evolve. I'm really grateful that we are a team of folks who are just committed to figuring out how we can show up as many ways as possible for our grantees and our ecosystem.
Have a bonus question before we
Yeah.
maybe say goodbye. And I'm just curious, I think for all of us, what's one thing that you want folks to absolutely know, and to be carrying with them to 2026?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, something that has really been resonating with folks at Third Wave and that I haven't gotten the chance to shout from the rooftops more broadly is this phrase that comes from way back in the aughts and the anti-globalization movement, which is be careful with each other so we can be dangerous together. And I think that this piece, like the way that we need to show up with care, and part of that means having grace for mistakes, having grace for shifts, having grace for change. I was much talking to myself as everybody else, but I think that that's as critical as possible for showing up with an ethic of care and revolutionary love. And yeah, I want to be dangerous together in the best possible way. And yeah, that's what I've got. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next, and maybe Mars, you can close us out. Um, I think that I'm holding the opportunity that we have as an intermediary to really deepen the case making for why gender justice, why long-term funding, why rapid response funding, um, why racial justice work, disability justice work, sex worker-led organizing, transformative justice work are pathways to the liberations that we can access. As we are building together, it is a lot to ask grantees to be able to make that case in a larger way, as they are responding to day-to-day needs of survival, of organizing, of building together and navigating the world that we're all trying to figure out how to move through. But I think as an intermediary, we have an opportunity to do some really beautiful case-making, storytelling, and bringing on of new energy to help us build momentum in this work. And yeah, we invite you in, and we invite your ideas and your resources and your connections to support our grantees and our ecosystem, but our larger movement towards the world that we need and we deserve. So that's where I'm at. And I'll pass it to you.
Thanks. I mean, as the question asker, I feel like most of us do this thing where we ask the question and we're not prepared to answer it ourselves, which is a thing that I just did. But I think one thing that I am really taking away from this conversation and folks to consider carrying into 20 is that we cannot allow ourselves in this moment to succumb to fatigue. That right now it is the moment that all of us need to be digging our heels into collectively to get beyond just this moment. I think that we have a right, a duty to think about generations after us and the work that we do right now, seeding the world that's going to be possible for folks in the future. And it's my sort of like life's mission to make sure that BIPOC, queer, and trans people do more than just exist in the future, but that they thrive. And that they do not need to rely on systems like philanthropy to even have their critical needs met. So I think right now is the time for us to really, really dig our heels in and understand that it takes all of us moving collectively, not just one of us off to the sidelines. And that in those moments where you do find yourself getting tired, that you understand that you have a network, a community of resources that can help fill your cup up so that you can continue to work moving forward. So it's all of us doing this work, moving it critically forward together for a new world.